For those students who don't have the learner's management system, I cannot help you with that. I can only extend the deadline for those students who don't have the account yet. But don't ask me about your account in the learner's management system. It should be addressed to your advisor. So don't mind about the late deduction because you will be exempt with the late deduction. So in the meantime, you'll have to wait when are you going to have your own learners management system account. So to proceed, as a review, a circle is the set of all points to coordinate which is x and y that are equidistant from a fixed point called the center of the circle. From a fixed point to the center, from a fixed point rather going to the any part of the circle, that's a circle. Equidistance meaning from this part, from the center going to any part of the circle, that's actually the radius. That's why radius are equal or radar are equal. The distance radius between the center to any point of the circle is the radius. So when there is no radius in the problem, basically you are only given two coordinates, the center and the in a certain point, then it might use the distance formula. When you were given two ordered pair such that that ordered pair passes through the center, when you connect the segment, you might need there the midpoint formula. Okay, so here is the center of the circle, the H and K. This is the point P. Okay. Now, transforming equation means um, you'll have to find the center of the circle in standard form or in center radius form using this general form. So completing the squares is an expression. It's an expression such as x squared plus 4x. This is a working solution. X squared plus 4x, meaning determining the term to be added. We'll have to add this one, certain expression. We'll think of an expression that will be added to x squared plus 4x. That will produce a perfect square trinomial. So when you say a perfect square trinomial, x squared plus 6x plus 9 is a perfect square trinomial because you can factor that as x plus 3, or x plus 3 quantity squared. This is our goal, to factor a trinomial such that the factor or such that the trinomial is a perfect square trinomial. Okay? Since the coefficient of x squared plus 4x is already in 1 or already 1, the numerical coefficient is already 1, we take half of the coefficient of x. Remember the steps in completing the square. The first step is to make b equal to 1. This one is our b. The second is get 1/2 of the coefficient of b, and then that 1/2 will be raised to squared or will be squared. Okay, and that will be 1/2 of here is 2. Our a, by the way, there is 1. B is equal to 4. When you say ABC, we are actually looking for the numerical coefficient of the terms of the expression. So x squared has a numerical coefficient of 1, 4x has a numerical coefficient of 4. Okay, so half of 4 is 2, then square, this will be 4. Okay, that's how we make a trinomial into a perfect square trinomial. Okay, so we can now express this one as x plus 2, which is equal to x plus 2 quantity squared. Okay, that will be our factor there. X squared plus 4x plus 2. Now, um, when we are going to find the standard form of x squared plus y squared, minus 6x minus 7, you'll have to rearrange the term. X squared minus 6x. Then you'll add something to make it a perfect square trinomial. And this is y squared. The constant term will be transferred to the right side. Okay. First is you'll have to look at the numerical coefficient of x. If the numerical coefficient of x is 1, then proceed to step number 2. The step number 2 there is get 1/2 of b. Our b there is negative 6. Half of negative 6 is negative 3. Okay? Half of negative 6 is negative 3. And when you square negative 3, that's positive 9. Okay? Now for y squared, there is no b there, so our b is 0. When you are going to have to get half of b, it is still 0. And when you raise it to itself, or 0 squared, that is still 0. So we'll leave y squared as y squared is equal to 7. Since you added 9 to the left side, to balance the equation, you'll have to add again, you'll have to add 9 to the right side. Whatever you do on the left side, you also do it right side. It's like washing your face. You wash your half of your face. Of course, you are going to have the right side of your face. So x squared minus 6x plus 9. It is now a perfect square trinomial. That is x minus 3, x minus 3. That is the factor is equal to 16. So x minus 3 can be factored out as x minus 3 quantity squared plus y squared is equal to 16. So I can now have the center of my circle as positive 3. Remember the form as x minus 8 quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared is equal to r squared. The formula is negative, and then we have there 3. So our x coordinate there is positive 3. Y there is 0. And the radius is equal to 4. The radius is not 16. You'll have to get the square root of 16. And the square root of 16 is plus minus 4. Since radius, we are talking about the distance. There's no negative. You just get the natural number of the square root of 16. Question so far? That's what I've always tell you about pre-calculus. There are really a lot of prerequisite lessons. Yes, last week we did the distance formula, midpoint formula. Now we're using the knowledge about quadratic equations such as the completing the squares. So review how to do completing the squares. Okay? No violent reaction. Let's try another example. Let's try this one. Um, Find the center and the radius of the equation 16x squared plus 16y squared plus 96x minus 40y minus 315 is equal to 0. So we'll regroup the terms. In regrouping the terms, we have 16x squared plus 96x, and then you'll think of a certain number that will make it a perfect square trinomial, plus 16y squared, and then minus 40y. You'll think of a certain number that will make it again a perfect square trinomial. Again, when you say a perfect square trinomial, the factors are identical. Then the constant term will be transferred to the right side. Let's check. Um, let us solve first the x part. The numerical coefficient there of our a is 16. But according to the rule, you'll have to make the numerical coefficient of a equal to 1. And there's no sense of dividing each of the term into 16 because it will just um, make our solution a laborious one, a lengthy one. So might as well, I will be factoring 16x squared plus 96x since they have a common factor. So I'll be factoring it using common monomial. Only for the numerical coefficient, don't use the x as their common factor. So 16x squared divided by 16, we have there x squared. 96x divided by 16, that's 6x. Am I correct? Let's try. I'll use my calculator. I don't want to do it manually. Yeah, it's 6. So plus a certain number. And then for 16y squared, we'll have to make 16y squared as y squared because the numerical coefficient must be equal to 1. So I'll have to factor that 16x squared divided by 16 is y squared. Negative 40 divided by 16. Basically, 40 is not a multiple of 16. So you'll have to express this one in lowest term. So we have 10 over 4, so 5 over 2. So this is negative 5 over 2y. Okay? Plus a certain number is equal to 315. So we're done with step number 1 to make um, the numerical coefficient of a equal to 1. You look at our x part. The numerical coefficient there is already expressed in 1, x squared plus 16x plus a certain number. And then for y part, it's y squared. So the next step is to get half of b. In our b, there is 6. Half of b is 3. Kalahati po ng 6 ay 3. Tapos ngayon, i-square natin yan. Pag in-square natin ang 3, 3 times 3, that's 9. Plus 16, you have there y squared minus 5 over 2y. Half of 5 over 2 is 5 over 4. When you want to get the 1 half of a certain number, all you have to do is to multiply it by 1 half. So 5 over 2 multiplied it by 1 half. When you multiply a fraction, you multiply the numerator in the numerator, denominator and denominator. So that's 5 over 4. This 5 over 4 will be raised to squared. So that's 5 over 4 times 5 over 4. That's 25 over 16. So I will be adding here 25 over 16. Okay? Is equal to 315. Careful, because what shall I add to the right side? Ano dapat yung i-add ko sa right side? 316 times, hindi ko siya mabura. Times what? Ay, plus what?
25 over 16.
Mabubura ba ito? Ayaw niya. Paano ba ito mabura? Wait lang ha. Medyo hindi ako techie. Ayaw niya talaga. Anyway. Let's go back to my question. Ano ba talaga ang dinagdag ko dyan sa left side?
Sir, hindi po ba dapat 100 over 16 po?
100 over 16. Saan ko dapat ilalagay yung 100 over 16? X part or Y part?
Sa y part po.
Ang idadagdag ko dapat ay 100 over?
16 po.
Bakit 100 over 16? How do you get 100 over 16, Kurt? Okay. Paano? Para maintindihan ko, paano nakuha yung 100 over 16? Kasi the second step is to get half of b. In our b, there is negative 5 over 2. Kalahati ng b, ang kalahati ng 5 over 2 ay 5 over 4. Ngayon yung 5 over 4 is square mo yan. So 5 over 4 times 5 over 4. So ang 5 over 4 times 5 over 4, 25 over 16. Naintindihan ba or medyo nagugulo ako kung saan galing 100?
Okay na po, sir. Thank you po.
Okay. So ang tanong ko ngayon, sa right side, kasi kanina dito sa dito sa first part, nag-add ako ng 9 because I added 9 here. So what must be added to the right side now in problem number 2? Ano dapat ang i-add ko dyan? Um, oh my God. I'm sorry, marami pala nagtataas ng kamay. Catherine. Hindi ko nakita. Catherine.
Ano, ano po, sir? Positive 25/16 po.
Paano yung X?
Paano po, sir?
Ang sinabi mo lang yung sa Y part. Paano yung ano yung
Positive,
ginagawa ko sa X?
positive 9 po, tapos yung positive 25/16.
But you forgot that you have 16 being factored out outside the trinomial. So basically, hindi talaga 9 ang dinagdag mo dyan at hindi lang 25/16 ang dinagdag mo, kundi ang talagang dinagdag mo dyan is 9 times 16 plus 16 times 25/16. Yun talagang dinagdag mo dyan. Kasi may 16 ka dito. Oh. When you multiply this one, ito yan. Tapos pag multiply mo to, ito din yan. So okay lang yan kasi talagang common na akala ng mga estudyante ang dinagdag lang yung nasa loob lang ng parenthesis and they forgot that we have still a constant term outside the trinomial. So, ngayon, pwede ko na siyang ma-factor x squared plus 6x plus 9, magiging x plus 3 to x plus 3. Ang y part, magiging y minus 5/4, tapos y minus 5/4. Kapag fraction yan, bumalik ka lang doon sa kalahati ng b, yun yung magiging factor niya. Is equal to 315. 9 plus 16 is, mahina ako sa mental math, 135 plus 16 times 25/16, that's 25. So here, this is x plus 3 quantity squared plus 16 y minus 5/4 quantity squared, 315 plus, oh, bakit pare iba yung sagot ko? 315 plus 135 plus 25, 475. Bakit 484 ang sagot ko dito? Double check natin. 9 times 16, 144 pala to dapat. Mali. 144. Katulungan niyo ako mag-compute. Okay, this should be 484. Now, remember the standard form equation of the circle. It must be expressed in x minus h quantity squared, y minus k quantity squared is equal to r squared. So we'll have to eliminate their 16. Kasi wala tayong 16 doon sa form natin. To eliminate that, you'll have to divide each of the term 16. So we have now x plus 3 quantity squared plus y minus 5/4 quantity squared. 484 divided by 16, that's 121/4. So ang center ko ngayon ay -3, positive 5/4, ang radius ko ay 11/2. That's it. Maybe you are wondering what will happen, sir, if the x is divisible by 16 and yet the y is not divisible by 16 and vice versa. When that happen, your equation is not a circle. Okay? When the radius or when the radius, when you divide it by a constant is 0, then that equation is not a circle. It's a point. When the right side is negative, it's a null set. It's an empty set. But when the equation and then the constant term is a positive, meaning to say magkakaroon ka dyan ng radius, yan ay circle. Ulitin ko. Kapag yung right side, I'm talking about this one, wala na kasi akong space eh. Itong right side po, itong right side naka-check. Wala na akong space para sa solution. Kapag yung lumabas sa right side, sinimplify mo, ay negative, it's a null set. It's an empty set. Okay? Kapag ang lumabas dyan sa right side, the radius part is 0, it's a point. It's not a circle, but it's a point. But when the right side is positive, it's a circle. Okay? So you must know how to determine when is an equation becomes a circle, when is an equation becomes a point, and when is that becomes a null set or an empty set. You just look at the radius. Kasi imposible na yan ay zero. So kung zero yan, mula sa point ng center, saan ka pupunta? Wala kang pupuntahan kasi zero ang radius mo. Likewise, negative ang radius, wala ka rin pupuntahan. Okay? Sige. Wala pang tanong eh. You have to try this one. Number 3. Kailangan ko ng center at radius. Okay, in 3 minutes. Please type your center and radius in the chat box. It's okay if you don't get the correct center or radius. As mentioned so many times to you, mathematics is the skills. When you say skills, you have to do some practice for you to understand math. Hindi yan siya kagaya ng ibang subject na titingnan mo lang, akala mo na intindihan mo na. Kailangan mo talagang subukan na mag-solve. Parang basketball. Para gumaling ka maging basketball, you have to practice doing basketball. Okay, Kurt submitted his center as 7, -1, and the radius is 6. Let's wait. We still have 1 minute. Excuse me. Kurt, you'll have to give me your center and radius. That's the standard form, but you'll have to give me the center and the radius. Sabog po ko, sorry. Ako nga eh, wala pang tulog. Camps. Okay, mukhang wala na magsasubmit ng sagot. Bilisan natin kasi mahaba pa to. Nasa anong slide pa lang ako. So we'll have to rearrange the terms. It's x squared minus 14x and then a certain number to make it a perfect square trinomial. And then y squared plus 2y plus a certain number to make it a perfect square trinomial equals negative 14. So you check. Okay, Kurt changed his radius. Let's check. The numerical coefficient of our a there is already in 1. I mean, the numerical coefficient already 1, x squared. Likewise, the numerical coefficient of y squared is also 1. So step 1 is done. The next step is to get half of b. Our b for x squared for x part is negative 7. Negative 7 squared, that's 49, plus y squared plus 2y. Our b for y part is 1. 1 times 1, that's 1. And the negative 4, this should be positive, sorry. Ay, mali. Negative na pala yun. Negative 14, so plus 49 plus 1. Okay? So this is now a perfect square trinomial. X minus 7 plus x minus 7. For the y part, it's y plus 1 times y plus 1. Negative 14 plus 49 plus 1, 50 minus 14 is 36. So the factor to this is x minus 7 quantity squared, y plus 1 quantity squared is equal to 36. Then basically, our center there is 7, negative 1, and the radius is equal to 6. Very good. Excuse me. Kurt got it correctly. Um, Christine also. You have to check, Christine, your K coordinate. Anyway, meron na palang correction. And Wesley, you'll have to check your radius. For those students who did not submit their answer, it's okay kung nahihiya kayo. Pero ang lagi-lagi kong sasabihin sa inyo, kailangan nyo i-try kung nahihirapan kayo. Kasi kung hindi nyo susubukan, ano yan domino effect. Hindi kagaya ang math sa ibang subject like magbabasa ka lang ng story, kinabukasan iba na naman ang lesson ko. Here in mathematics, every lesson is connected with each other. So if you don't understand this topic, I am certain that the next topic will give you a hard time understanding the lesson kasi connected siya. Now let's try this one. Find the standard equation of the circle and the general form satisfying the given condition. Meron tayong diameter and then the diameter has an endpoint of 1, 4, and 7, 2. Alam ko na ibigay ko to na assignment. What shall we do with this problem? We don't have the center. We also don't have the radius. Ang alam lang natin, ang circle meron siyang endpoint na 1, 4, and 7, 2. So anong gagawin? Para magkaroon ako ng radius. Very good. Denise, midpoint. Okay? Imaginein mo yung dalawang, ayoko na magbukas ng GeoGebra. Dalawang circle. Meron dito, dalawang circle. Dalawang point. Meron ditong dalawang point. Kunyari, ito ay 1, 4. Ito naman ay 7, 2. Kukunin ko, ito yung diameter niya, although hindi siya mukhang diameter. The scale, the drawing is not drawn to scale. The figure pala. Mali. The figure is not drawn to scale. So ito yung A, ito yung B. Kukunin ko yung midpoint niyan, yun yung center niya. Mali. Yun yung diameter niya. Sorry, yun yung radius niya. Diameter na pala to. Kukunin ko yung midpoint ng dalawa, yun ang magiging radius ko ngayon. So ang midpoint formula is x sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2, y sub 1 plus y sub 2 divided by 2. This is our x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. So by substitution, we will have there 1 plus 7 divided by 2, 4 plus 2 divided by 2. So our x coordinate will be 8 over 4 and 6 over 2. So our coordinate there is what? Tama ba yung ginagawa ko? Yeah,
Yep.
4 and 3. Tama? Hindi pa pala ito, hindi pa pala ito radius. Ngayon, kukunin ko na yung midpoint na to pala, kasi the diameter is a special kind of chord. Bakit siya naging special ang chord? Siya lang yung chord na dadaan sa center. Meaning to say, ito yung center ngayon natin. Yung midpoint is actually the center. Mali pala ako nung una. Yung midpoint, sir, bakit po naging 8 over 4? 8 over 2, sorry. It should be 8 over 2, not 8 over 4. Nalito na ako. Yung midpoint ng A at saka ng B, hindi pala siya radius, kundi yun yung center. Ang radius ngayon is the distance from the center to B and from the center to A. That's the radius. So basically, gagamit ako dito ng distance formula such as the distance formula is x sub 2 minus x sub 1 quantity squared y sub 2 minus y sub 1 quantity squared. So pwede akong gumamit ng center and A, center or B. It will not change the answer. The same lang makukuha ko dyan. So let's try center and A. Okay? Use C 43 and A 14 to get the radius. Okay, so we have here our x sub 2 there will be 1 minus 4 quantity squared, 4 minus 3 quantity squared. So 1 minus 4 is 3, negative 3 squared is 9. 4 minus 3 is 1, squared is 1. So the radius is the square root of 10. So I can now get the standard equation of the circle as x minus 4 quantity squared plus y minus 3 quantity squared is equal to the square root of 10 squared. So x minus 4, y minus 3 is equal to 10. Tapos, kayo na mag-expand para makuha nyo yung general form. This is the standard. Question, clarification. Thank you for the question, John Ariola. It should be 8 over 4, not 8 over. It should be 8 over 2, not 8 over 4. Okay, no question? Last na pala to. Sige, I'll give you 2 minutes just to visualize the problem and to tell me what to do about this. A street with 2 lanes, each 10 feet wide, goes through a semicircular tunnel with radius 12 feet. How high is the tunnel at the edge of each lane? Bigyan ko kayo ng idea kung anong itsura niyan kapag ito drawing natin. Paano ba? Hindi ako magaling mag-drawing.
Desmos, pakita mo.
Alin?
Desmos.
Hindi eh.
I-enter mo yung graph.
Drawing mo talaga siya. Meron siyang parang Cartesian plane.
Sabi mo na yun.
Tapos, ano nga ang kanyang width? 10 feet wide. So, ito ay negative 10. Ito ay positive 10. Pero ang length talaga ng tunnel ay 12. Tapos, a street with 2 lanes, each 10 feet wide, goes through a semicircular tunnel with radius 12. So, ibig sabihin, with radius 12, this is 12. Ito ang mangyayari. Okay? Ngayon, meron siyang truck na dadaan na ang lapad ng truck ay 10 feet wide. How high is the tunnel? So, somewhere here. So, meron kang X, pero meron kang X which is 10, pero wala kang Y. Ang hinahanap natin dyan ay Y. Sige, try. Sino yung may pumasok na wala? Pasensya na kayo sa drawing ko. Hindi talaga ako magaling mag-drawing. So, ang track ay nandito. Take note that para siya naging semicircle lang ano, you assume that it is the center of the circle there is at the origin. Hindi siya nag-shift ng H units or K units. Catherine, can you tell me how did you do it?
Ano po sir, gagamitin po yung standard equation po, yung x squared plus y squared equals r squared po.
Very good. And
Tapos,
then,
tapos isa-substitute po yung radius po which is yung 12 feet po. Tapos yung sa x naman po is yung 10 feet.
correct. And then,
Ililipat po yung, ay,
okay.
iaano po muna, i-square root po muna or ililipat na din po yung 100 over dun po sa may, over po sa equal sign. Tapos magiging negative po yung 100.
Okay,
Tapos
next.
ipagsa-subtract po. Tapos para po matanggal yung
44.
square root po ng, yung
144.
square,
44 ano?
44 po, apo.
Okay.
Tapos para po matanggal yung square root po ng y, ay yung squared po ng y, is square root po sila, ay kakancel po yung square root po nilang dalawa.
Okay.
Tapos
So,
magig
what's your answer? Approximate mo lang.
6.63 po.
Very good. Okay? So, meaning to say, the tunnel is 6 or how high is the tunnel at the edge of each lane? The edge of each lane is actually 6.63 feet. The tunnel's boundary is on the circle, which is x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. Thank you, Catherine. Question, mga minamahal kong estudyante. Baka bigla kayo magpalit ng strand ha. Sinabi ko na sa iyo na circle ang pinakamadaling lesson sa pre-calculus. If you are having a hard time understanding the lesson, pwede kayong magtanong pero please wag kayong mag-PM kasi minsan hindi ko nababasa doon sa group chat. Kung ang tanong niyo ay about sa completing the square, you'll have to review the completing the square. Kasi it's not part of my topics. Gustuhin ko mang ituro ang completing the square dito, hindi pwede dahil malilate naman yung ibang topics natin. If there are no more questions, this will be your written works number 3. Okay? Yan ang written work number 3 natin. Number 2 rather. And this one. 5. Dalawa lang.
Paaraw kaya ako.
Ingay. Oh yeah, pwede kang paaraw dyan. Okay, wait lang. I-save ko lang ito para meron kayong umalis ka kasi attendance, wala pa. Laging two decimal places, yes. Pero kapag hindi naman length ang hinahanap, huwag niyong express sa decimal. Hayaan nyo naka-square root of 44. Okay lang ba kung kaya mag-open ng camera? We can open it. So, can we open it? So, baka magkita tayo dyan. Hindi ko kayo kilala. For the attendance, can you open your camera if it's possible? But if not, okay lang kung hindi open. Lahat talaga wala nag-open.
Sabi mo.
Para hindi naman ako naniniwala.
Nagbigay ka kasi ng option eh.
Si Denise lang yung nag-open. Ayaw talaga mag-open. Baka mahihain naman nila. Ayan, nag-open na si Mike, si Jean, si Hisham, Andre, Sheila, Jefferson, Justine, John, Angel May. Okay? Smile para to sa one by one picture. Cats. Okay. Anong section nga to? 19. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for joining the class. And next lesson is parabola.